to add a little dazzle. In today's video, I will be teaching you how to create the Loving Thoughts Apothecary Art Metal Embossed card. I'm so excited to share today's card with you, as this card features lots of fun products from the Occasions mini catalog that you are just going to fall in love with. So let's get started. To begin this card, you will need to take a 4 1/4 by 11 inch piece of pink pirouette cardstock, and you will need to score it at 5 1/2. Once you have your card base, then we will begin by attaching the front backing to this card. And in order to do that, you will need to take a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of bronze gauze metal sheet, and we will need to place it inside the vintage wallpaper impressions folder. Once you get your vintage wallpaper impressions folder, you place the metal sheet with the color side facing up and the logos facing up, and you will run this through the Big Shot. Once you have run this through the Big Shot, you will end up with a piece like this that just looks beautiful. Now, in order to attach the metal to the cardstock, you will need to apply sticky strip to the back. You can actually apply sticky sheet, but I use sticky strip here, and I will put it again along the 4 walls of the metal sheet. I will then peel this off, and I will attach it to the front of my card. And I will show you what that will look like. So as you see here, I have now attached the front to the card, and now we're ready to continue. Okay, now I will take a 1 1/2 by 5 1/4 inch piece of pink pirouette and a 1 1/4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Twitter painted designer series paper found in the Occasions mini catalog. And I'm going to flip this designer series paper back, and I am going to run snail adhesive along it, and I am going to center it and attach it to this piece so that it is perfectly matted. Now, I'm going to attach my ribbon onto this piece, and I don't want it to be all the way over here because the ribbon will be hanging off the card, and it's not going to fit even with the label on the front. And so I'm going to teach you what I did. I counted 1, this 2, and 3, and I made a mark around there with a pencil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 1/2 inch seam binding, and I am going to wrap it around this piece, and I am going to tie it in a bow. And so I'm going to make sure my ends are even, and then if I need to, I can run a piece of snail right here to attach it, and I want my bow to meet right there, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. And there is one where I have completed the bow, and I've cut off my edges. Now, I need to do this first before I attach this to my card, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to apply a piece of sticky strip along these 2 sides. And so once I'm done with that, I can peel that off and attach it to my card front. See, I have now attached this to the center of my card base, and the main thing to remember is that when you're attaching cardstock to metal, that you must use sticky strip to attach it. And so now we're going to work on the label part. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my labels right here, and I'm starting from the largest to the smallest. I'm going to pull out the 3rd one, and I'm going to pull out the 4th one in. And I'm going to start by working with the 3rd one. And so I'm going to take a 4 by 5 inch piece of watercolor paper, and I'm going to place this with the blade facing down on top. I'm going to sandwich this with the cutting plates, and I'm going to run it through the Big Shot. Once I've done that, I am going to then take that piece, and I am going to emboss it with the vintage wallpaper impressions folder. and your piece will look like this. And then what you can do is you can take some soft suede ink and just distress the edges a little bit to give it more of an antique look. Now, I need to attach this right here underneath, but as you see, it's gonna not go through. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my 3¼ inch circle punch, and I'm gonna punch a hole right there. And that will allow me to create that groove so that it'll fit nicely and still have the ribbon there. And so I've attached sticky strip to the back, and I am going to now place this in the front of my card. Okay, so now we are going to stamp this image onto our 3×4 inch piece of watercolor paper. Now, one thing that I want to let you know is that when you're stamping this, you want it to be facing up, and you want to get your basic black ink, and you want to go all over it real good. You want to make sure to cover it because of the intricate detail. If you don't do that, then it's not going to come out, and then you are going to stamp it on your watercolor paper. Press down real hard until you get the entire image. As you see here, I didn't get the full image, and so I need to make sure that I ink it up real good to make sure that the image shows up. And I will show you a piece that I have that I stamped the image, and I put a lot of pressure, and it came out real crisp. Now, I will tell you something. Do not cut out the piece from the label first and then try to stamp it, because you can see what happened here. I was off. And so what you're going to do is that once that you've stamped the piece, then you are going to take, here's a better image of it. You're going to take the label frames, you're going to place it on top over the image and run it through your Big Shot until you have a piece like this. And then we will begin to watercolor it. Okay, here is my stamped image cut out with the label on watercolor paper. And now I'm going to watercolor using my classic stamp pad. And here I have chosen Melon Mambo. Now, in order to be able to watercolor with classic stamp pad, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lid and I'm just going to press it in. And you're going to see what that's going to do in a minute. So then when I flip it open, that ink is now right here. So then I'm going to take my blender pen and I'm going to pick up the color right from there. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a good watercolor person. And so I'm going to teach you a trick that I learned in order to be able to do this, to give me a look like I actually know how to watercolor. And so I'm going to start by marking off a little bit of the flowers that I'm going to color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 right here. And so I'm going to do that. That way I know ahead of time where I'm coloring. And I'm going to color all those in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get more of the ink and I'm just going to start coloring them in like I was coloring it in. And I'm going to continue doing that for all my flowers right there.